Good morning and welcome to Kramer's Corner with daily technical update. It is Friday the 29th of August. This video is for educational only. There's no recommendation or advice whatsoever intended. And today we'll start with Nvidia once again for the third day straight. And it's just to let you know that, well, basically it was a non-event for the market in general. That after the earnings, the day after the earnings, it closed at about 1% lower, but that wasn't really much. So it's like, seems like a lot of investors, they were like, well, it's not really nothing exciting in this earnings report. It was a lot of volatility, but there's a lot of volatility intraday and also after market when the earnings were released Wednesday afternoon or evening. And as we can see, it spiked higher to just 1 cent from the all-time highs here at 184.48, and then it dropped back. So very volatile intraday, as you can see. So key question here in the coming weeks or so will be: can it actually push higher and take it out, or will it just fizzle and slide back and take out 170 to the downside and maybe form a top and reversal pattern? It is not just there yet, but as you can see, the past few weeks is basically trading sideways. Market can't really figure out what it wants with the Nvidia. And we can also see RSI has been declining for the better part of 6 weeks or so, indicating uptrend exhaustion. So let's see about that. It needs to close above and make a new all-time highs. Another one to have a quick look at is Apple, that bounced off this support here just around 234, just below that, bounced and could resume uptrend. It is in a bullish trend, higher high, higher low, and if it also makes a new higher high above this 235.12, well, then there's potential up to these peaks here around 250. Possibly higher, but let's see about that. As long as we stay above 233.70, we are in a bullish trend. If it's closing below, well, then we are in a neutral state. Positive sentiment on the RSI, but there's a slightly divergence, isn't there? No, there's not. This is the peak, and this is also the peak. So there's no divergence at the moment. So keep an eye on Apple. And just very quickly on Google or Alphabet C share, that has pushed higher, new all-time high, I believe, and it has formed this what looks like a steep rising wedge. There's divergence on the RSI, as you can see, but still the trend is your friend. I would be careful to take a long position now if it was me. Again, it's not a recommendation. It's just that you should be ready to pull the plug, and if it reverses and if it breaks below the rising trend line here and closes below, and I would, if it was me, and that would I'm not invested in it, that would be my stop around 206 if I jumped in now. And again, this is not a recommendation to buy or sell Google or Alphabet C share. On the Nasdaq 100, it actually, of course, helped the Nasdaq 100 push higher. No new all-time highs though, but it's pushing higher towards the previous all-time highs just here below 24,000. Will we get there is debatable, as we have the RSI values declining here, and indicating uptrend exhaustion, but we are back. We are still in positive sentiment, and if it can close above the falling trend line here on the RSI, then we are likely to see new highs above 24,000. Pre-market, not really much movement, basically unchanged. Let's have a look at the S&P 500 that actually closed in a new all-time highs yesterday. Just slightly has closed above its falling trend line on the RSI, likely to push higher. So we are still in positive trend with higher highs, higher lows, higher highs, higher lows, and new higher high. So still there, and it hasn't formed a top and reversal pattern just yet. Dow Jones also slightly higher. Still positive sentiment. There is divergence though, as you can see here. I could draw a trend line here, as you can see, and say we have indication of uptrend exhaustion. Again, trend is your friend, higher highs and higher lows for now. And moving on to the Asian session this morning, Hang Seng that has bounced, and this 24,775 support has holds, and we are trying to get back above this kind of pivot point line here. I would say I think we closed slightly above it. Yes, we did. So didn't it 24? Yeah, just slightly above it. So it could resume uptrend, but also here there is uptrend. Is a little bit tired with the RSI exhaustion indicated here with the RSI declining. On the Nikkei, a little bit back today, but it's still in a bullish trend. There's also RSI divergence there indicating likely higher levels. Sorry, indicating trend exhaustion, but could push higher towards a previous peak here around 44,000, but it's not really there yet. If it takes out the lows here from the past few days, well, then we could see a push down to 41,280. The EuroStoxx50, not really much to report from yesterday. Market hasn't opened just yet when I do this video, so let's see where we are with this. Setting back a little bit. So if it takes out the lows here from a few days ago at 5,364 here on the EU50 CFD/future, well, then we could see a push lower to 5,300. However, we have 55 moving average coming up. We have 100 coming up. Positive sentiment, no divergence on the RSI, indicating that we could push higher. DAX, on the other hand, closed more or less unchanged yesterday, rejected once again at this falling trend line here. So that seems to be also kind of pivotal point. And it needs to close, DAX must close above 24,445 just to really establish a bullish trend, and further confirmed by closing about 24,536. And RSI on top of that, for confirmation, needs to close above 60 threshold, and we are it's been rejected a couple of times, as you can see. So still under pressure there in the leading German index. On the euro dollar, well, this range here between 115.80 and the upper falling trend line and a 117.45. We are above the cloud, we are above 50 moving average, but 55 moving average, but RSI is still negative sentiment. So there is a risk that it could set back further, but there's a lot of fighting going on in this area here, as we can see. We've been range bounding for the better part of August, or at least half of it. If it takes out the spike down here on the 27th at 115.74, so let's say 115.70 just to be sure, then 115.25 and possibly lower could be seen. But if it takes out the peak here, then I think we will have this push towards 118.19. Sterling dollar, well, basically also sideways between 134 and 136. I know it is a wide range, but that's how it is sometimes. Euro sterling also here between 86, which is a key strong support area, and 86.75, where it would knock down from. So that would be the range. The RSI is telling us it should push higher, but it's not that. I'm not that confident just yet, because we also do have a bit of RSI divergence here. But if RSI gets back above 60 threshold, then with bullish trend is likely to be in play, with a potential up to 87.5, maybe higher. Yen pair is also just range bound. A lot of range bounding at the moment. Seems like it can't really make up its mind which way you want to go. And we have dollar yen here between 148.55. The 200 moving average giving pressure to the downside, 55 trying to push it higher, and also 100 coming around. So we could be range bound, as I mentioned so many times, in this area here between 146.5 and 148.5 area for quite some time. Positive sentiment on the RSI still, but we are in a neutral position. So I'm not that convinced of the direction. I think, to be honest, I think it would be to the downside, also given that on the weekly It was rejected up here just below 151, and the RSI on weekly is still negative. So I think it will be to the downside eventually, but I want confirmation. That's how I work. And let's move on to Euro Yen, which is also range bounding between 173 and 170, just below here. So if it takes out that spike down there and just below 171, well, the next one is likely to be 169 and 70 area, where we have some stronger support down here. But the 55 coming up, adding to the support, still positive sentiment on the RSI. So, but a lot of range bouncing going on. Aussie Yen trying to bounce back, and if it can close above the falling trend line and above 96.20, maybe it could establish a trend, because then a bullish trend, because then it's back above the cloud. But RSI needs to get back above 60 threshold to confirm that. And we are actually, in fact, in a bearish trend: lower low, lower high, lower low, possibly lower high if it's being rejected and is sliding back lower. Sterling Yen, it's I'm just repeating myself here. Also, the 200 area, really strong resistance area, and the 55 moving average coming up, giving it some support here, just above 198 and above the cloud. There is slightly positive sentiment, so it should push higher, but I'm not convinced, because we have slightly negative here, and that didn't materialize really. So what I will do, I will say, okay, if it takes out that low there at 197.85, then I think we'll see a push lower towards 197, 196 area. Aussie dollar, well, 786 retracement is being tested of this correction here. Can it push higher? We need the RSI to get back above 60 threshold to really support a bullish trend. Otherwise, it can Aussie dollar can be rejected here. And if it slides back below the cloud at 65, then downtrend could take it down to the 64.15 support area down here. That is fairly strong. So let's see if it can push higher or not. It should do it, but I'm not that convinced. But we have a very strong support down there that should be observed. Dollar Canada sliding back lower towards the support here at 137.20, and the 55 moving average giving some support. I think it will bounce from here. Also, given that we have positive sentiment, no divergency, this peak here is higher than this. So we are still in a bullish trend, higher high, higher low, higher high, and still for now a higher low, but it could come under pressure. But if it starts moving, dollar Canada moves back above 138, then I think uptrend will resume, and there's potential to around 140. Sterling Canada has reached the 38.2 retracement, as we talked about. It was likely to do, but spiking a little bit lower. But positive sentiment still on the RSI, no divergence. I think it's just a correction before it will push back higher. We have the 100 and the 55 moving average coming up there, adding to that support. So I think keep an eye on it. If it start bouncing and gets back above 186 in this region here, well, then I think we will see Sterling Canada bouncing, and with a potential higher for that pair. On the Swiss front, Swiss franc bouncing from around the 61.8, it actually spiked well below. It actually closer to the 786 retracement. Then it's bounced. So let's see if it takes out the lows here from the past few days. Then we are looking at 92.60, 65, I believe. Still positive sentiment on the RSI. So we could bounce, but we can see we actually established a lower low, lower high, lower low. What will happen next? Will it bounce back in this region here? So also a little bit on a knife's edge. And the bigger picture, it's basically just sideways range trading. So a lot of volatility, but not really any clear direction. Dollar Swiss, again, trying to really get away from this support here. And if I do this and add a horizontal line, you'll see it actually tested the previous lows there, or spike down there at 79.93. So once again, it did that, basically bang on it. So there seems to be some really interesting, some interest down there. to support it. So will it bounce and to move back above 81? If it does, then uptrend could resume. But we have this descending triangle-like pattern here. And if it takes out the lows there, then I think we'll see towards 79. The dollar index also in this range here between 97.45 and 98.73. Gold slowly crawling higher, RSI back above 60 threshold, indicating likely higher levels, taking out this little peak here. Now the next test could be 34.30. These peaks here, this area here, 34.40, 34.30 to 34.40, 50. So really, but we have established a bullish trend. You can see there's a higher high here, higher than here, and this low here is higher than here. So higher high, higher low, higher high. It's not that strong, but it's there, and I think it will slowly crawl higher towards the previous peaks here from way back earlier this year. So there seems to be some movement there on the gold front. On the silver, on the other hand, yes, it is slowly crawling higher. Then it's being knocked down a little bit again, but we are higher high, higher low, higher high, and also very short high low there. So we're also crawling higher here, but the RSI is really struggling to really support this. But for now, trust the trend, and could take out the previous peak there at 39.53, or at least test it as long as you stay above these lows here. On the platinum, really not much to say. This is the range. It's trying to push higher, but it's being knocked down here. I still believe we'll do it eventually, but RSI needs to get back above 60 threshold to really support that. And I think a close above 1400, then I think we are back in a bullish trend. Copper, maybe slowly crawling higher, as you can see here. Higher high, higher low, higher high. What will it get? 465 resistance area here, where we have the 200 moving average. So you can see it coming in here virtually flat. So that would be key strong resistance that it needs to overcome to push higher towards 495. It could also slide lower if it takes out the lower rising trend line there. Then we could be revisit the 433 lows. On the WTI crude oil, excuse me, WTI crude oil, basically just dancing sideways. We are in a bearish trend, negative sentiment on the RSI, but trying to push higher here, but we have the 55 coming around here, the 200 also kind of putting a lid on it. 100 trying to drag it higher a little bit. I'm not that convinced at the moment for the direction. I think it will slide lower, and if it takes out the lows here at 61.94, well, then we are looking at 60, but I need confirmation for that. Brent crude oil, also 55 coming down there, giving a kind of a resistance or pushing it lower, and I think it will have eventually negative sentiment still on the RSI. There is some strong resistance also coming up here, 200 moving average, even if it takes out this and spike higher to 61.8 retracement. I think if it takes out the lows here from a couple of days ago at 66.91, then I think the 65 will be revisited and also possibly lower. European nat gas has resumed down. It's still in a bearish trend, and the spike lower list that spike there, I think we'll see it pushing lower towards $30 in the coming days and weeks, which is interesting when we're getting closer to autumn and also possibly winter. On the other hand, we have US nat gas that has reached 61.8 retracement of this falling wedge-like pattern here. Just around, did it touch 3? No, it didn't. Just 1 decipip below. So basically, yeah. So that's a bit of a resistance here around $3, and then it could set back a little bit. Let's see about that. If it can close back above 320 here, 319, 320, well, then there's potential up to around 340, 350 area. On the yield side, US Treasury yields very close to test the 420 key support here, and I wouldn't be surprised if it takes it out with a push lower to 415. At least that's what it seems like at the moment. We have 55 that cross below the 100 moving average. It's not the strongest cross though, but nevertheless they are declining, and especially the 55 is declining. So really, there's no indication of higher yields just yet. The European 10-year oil has been set back very close to the 61.8 retracement, could test the lower rising trend line there. And I think maybe we'll get down there, maybe a little bit of a bounce, but let's see. That will be key in this area around 267. The UK 10 also set back, and the previous little peak there at 470 could slide lower if it takes out these small lows here at 467, 466. Then I think we'll see it sliding back to 460 area. And when we're talking yields, then the Japanese 10-year couldn't follow through, so it's still in a bullish trend, higher, 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 low, higher, higher. You see higher, 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 low, and moving up here. So we have a setback here. A question is, how big will it be? Will it move back to 150, 70, 38.2 or all the way down to 61.8 retracement at 153? Could it do that and then a bounce? On the crypto side, well, the Bitcoin is still under pressure in a bearish trend. Could push lower towards 10,800, 108,000, 107,000 in this area here. Ethereum is still in a bullish trend, but is struggling for further upside momentum. Key support here at 4,065. If it takes out that, well, then we could be looking lower. And let's just adjust this one here. So in this area there, we have some strong support. So we could be range bound maybe in this range here for quite some time. All right, that's all for today and for this week. Have a nice day, a nice weekend when you get there. And happy charting and take care out there.